Hey, everybody, this is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network. I'm also the founder of the International Women's Motorsports Association, Racing Girls Rock podcast, and the Women's Motorsports Network News Digital Magazine. And my co host is here, Brett Timmerman. Brett is on with me every week. We are going to stick to Wednesdays at 7 p.m. unless some crazy thing happens and he has to be at the racetrack or I have to be somewhere else. But most of the time, we're going to be here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesdays. So put that on your calendar, put it in your Google Calendar so that you get those reminders. We want you to come on and give us some feedback, chat with us, ask questions of our guests, all that kind of stuff. So Benjamin, he's our number one fan. Benjamin is from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So Benjamin, welcome back to the show. It's good of you to be here every week. You're our number one fan, I think. So I'm going to start the show a little different this week. I'm going to tell you where I'm at. I'm at Panera Bread in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I'll tell you why. I don't have any internet in my RV park. And the worst part is that I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and the internet is like one bar, sometimes two bars. And so I'm at Panera Bread in Kalamazoo. So there's music playing, and of course there's people here eating and dishes. But honestly, it's the best place I could find. So I apologize if there's background noise. But we're going to start the show a little differently because, Brett, as you well know, last Friday, my husband and I left Surprise, Arizona for a 3-day trip in our Class A RV with a dog. So we traveled around 700 miles the first day, a little over 12 hours. The next day we rode 650, and the day after that, long day, we got home about 7:30 here in Kalamazoo, another 660 miles. We went past the forest fires in New Mexico. We stayed at a truck stop where there was a shooting. We just had all kinds of excitement on our trip, if you can call that excitement. So I had somebody, though, say something to me before I left Arizona, and it made me think about my life and how blessed I am. And I wanted to share some things here because a lot of times on social media, we only share the good. Now, that's not true of everybody. There's a lot of drama there, I admit, on social media. But we also a lot of times just share the good things that happen. And so people think our lives are perfect and that, everything's great. And we don't always share the stuff that happens. So I had somebody say to me, you're so lucky. You have such a good life. You get to be in Arizona in the winter and you go to the races and you spend time with your grandkids. And then you come back to Michigan and spend time with your family and everything. And yeah, I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed. And I know that I am. And I just appreciate all the hard work that my husband and I have done over the years to allow us to do this. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Everybody has stuff. Everybody has stuff that happens, don't they, Brett?
They do.
They do. There is no perfect life. And so I'm just going to share with you what my life's been like the last few days. And then if I look tired and a little grumpy, you'll understand why. We were on the road for 3 days. The first night, Mark wanted to stay at a rest stop. I said, no, I don't feel safe staying in a rest stop where there isn't anybody. So we drove a few miles more to a really nice truck stop that we had stopped at in the past to stay there. 6 a.m. in the morning, Mark hears all these sirens. He's thinking the place got robbed. So we get up, we go to breakfast, and the waitress says, oh no, some guy didn't like what his girlfriend was doing. He shot her 3 times. She managed to get to the truck stop, get inside the truck stop, and they got her to the hospital. Luckily, she didn't die. He took off running across the field because this truck stop's like out in the middle of nowhere. They caught him. And so that was night number 1. And here I thought I was going to be safe in this truck stop and maybe not quite so much. So night number 2, we didn't have any problems, but they were long days, and you're eating icky food and it's just no fun. And then I get home and my deadline for my new house that I'm supposed to be moving into was May 1st. And, how much rain have we had, Brett?
A lot.
You sent all that rain from Iowa over here, across to Michigan. There was a freaking lake in the middle of my property. So my house wasn't done. And not any fault of my contractor. it's just stuff happens. People have stuff, and that's just how it is. You order stuff, and it's going to be 90 days or 2 weeks, and then it doesn't come in, and all these different things. So life's not perfect. Some days life really sucks. I have to just say it that way, right, Brett?
That's right.
Is your life perfect? Does
is
every
not.
day go great for you?
Not at all. I mean, we run a lot of businesses and I work full time, and we're just got a hectic life. And people think that we have it made because we run a
Yeah,
race car, and
right.
that definitely does not mean you have it made. That's 100% facts because people see like Rowdy Energy on our cart and Pit Viper, and them guys don't give us money. We just get product, for now. And so it takes a lot of money, and we stress every day about money for the racing side of things. And uh, yeah, I work full time, but we don't use that money for racing, so we have to come up with it other ways, which is why we own 3 other businesses. But
Right.
it's tough, and people see. I heard it this weekend. People are like, "Oh, you have Rowdy Energy. You should be able to race whenever you want." No, we don't. So life is hard, and when you want to race full time, it's a really tough life to be in.
It absolutely is. And there's just so many things that are out of our control. So I tend to be a person that likes to know the plan. I want to know what the plan is. I want to kind of be in control of where I'm going to be and when and all that. And you know me well enough to probably know I'm pretty organized and I like all that. But life doesn't agree with me at times about being on the plan. And so the point of this whole thing is that we all go through it. I don't care how great you make your life look on social media. I do not believe that you do not have struggles because everybody does.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things that Brett and I wanted to share with you is tonight is that, we understand. And just because we have a podcast and we race and we do these things doesn't mean that stuff happens. Jessie's going to come on later, our guest, Jessie Owens, and she's going to, she has stuff that doesn't go right. She maybe somebody wrecks her car, whatever it might be. And so, Brett and I have kind of partnered with the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. We've both been through suicide in our lives with friends and family members. And so we just want to partner with them. And not to say that because you're having a crappy day, you're going to commit suicide. But share it with somebody. Call Brett, reach out to me. We all have it, and we just need to encourage each other. We need to be there for each other. And that was just something I had on my heart. I just felt like I needed to share that, I have a great life. I have wonderful kids and grandkids, and I couldn't be any more blessed, but I still have stuff that doesn't go right. And so we all have it, don't we, guys?
For sure.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
all
don't
do.
ever hesitate to call. I get young kids that call me all the time to talk about struggles, and I get adults that call me. So, and I don't care what
Absolutely.
time it is. You can call me anytime. I don't care.
Right. Absolutely. So let's get on to something more fun. We're going to talk to our guest tonight. Jessie Owens lives in Cave Creek, Arizona, which, by the way, Jessie, I was there several times this past year. I did not know that you lived there, but next winter we're going to get together. We're going to go to one of my favorite little biker bars there in Cave Creek because they're well known for their big biker week, which is, I believe, in March, sometime in March. Thousands and thousands of bikers converge on this little town of Cave Creek. They have lots of biker bar restaurants. They even have a really cool little diner place that sells alcohol milkshakes, which I'd never heard of before. But anyway, pretty cool place. So we're going to get together in person for sure. But we just wanted to have her on. She's doing some amazing things in racing and outside of racing. So we want to kind of focus a little bit more, maybe, Jessie, on the outside of racing, how you're branding yourself, how you're promoting yourself, and those kinds of things. So welcome to the show. And why don't you start by sharing just a little bit about yourself? I already said where you live, but how old you are and just a little bit about your family, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Jessie Owens. I'm 16 years old. I've been racing since I was 9 years old, so I've got about 7 years under my belt. I am currently racing a UTV RS1 and a micro sprint, both out of Arizona for the most part, but we also travel a lot too for big races. But yeah, I'm very thankful to be on this podcast with these two amazing people. And yeah.
So how'd you get started in
That's
racing,
awesome.
Jessie?
So Jessie was introduced to me by a friend of all of ours, Lori Cutter.
Yes. Sorry. So I got started into racing when I was 9, like I said. I started in a Razor 170, which is, I like to call it a miniature version of a 2-seater 1000. It started out as a local deal with the Arizona Lucas Oil Regional Series. And there's probably about 4 or 5 of us that started it. And after that, it just kind of took off from there. And I probably raced that for 2-3 years till I aged out of the class. And from there, I've just been moving up the ranks of UTVs. And then recently, about a year, I've been racing the micro. So
Awesome. Sorry, Melinda, I cut you off there. I kind of jumped ahead.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to give our friend Lori a little shout out because our friend Lori is who introduced us to Jessie,
yes, we
and
wouldn't be here
Lori
without
Cutter
her.
with Champion Race Promotions. Yeah, she introduced us to Jessie. That's how Brett and I both know her, and so we wanted to mention her and thank her for getting us connected for sure. So go ahead, Brett. Finish your questions. I know you got a lot of them for her.
Well, yeah, for sure. Lori is definitely a very good person to have on your team. So, if anybody that's listening that races, if you need somebody to help promote you, check out Lori at Champion Race Promotions because you won't be disappointed. She's very dedicated to what she does for people. So,
Very.
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
Jessie, I seen that you drive a micro sprint for 49 Motorsports. Explain to us. There's a lot of people that want to get picked up as a driver. How did that all come about for you?
Yeah, so I got picked up under 49 Motorsports because for a couple reasons, actually. One being that we were previous friends with them, and he used to share a business with my dad, so they pretty much started the business that my dad owns. But I mean, took a couple years off, he started his own business or whatever, and then I started racing pretty hard probably when I turned about 14, 15. And about when I turned 15 is about the time he signed me on because he realized, I was really starting to make ground in my racing and it was kind of time for me to expand. And he also wanted to start a race team. And it was the perfect timing because he was new and I would be new to the micro racing. But I think what the final decision ended up being is that I had experience behind me. And yes, off-road racing, also a little bit go-kart experience behind me. And I had experience racing competitively with very professional level stuff. The off-road level we were racing at and still are racing at is very professional. So I think that was probably the main reason, and also because I would be able to promote his team and to be able to grow his team and put new drivers on and be able to help him get sponsors and just promote everything as a group.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's great to get picked up by, it has to make you feel accomplished to have somebody ask you to drive their equipment and help maintain it. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you. And yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a blessing, but then again, it also comes with more stress too because you're also driving under somebody else. But the way that I look at it is it's preparing you for the big world because by the time I'm 18 and 21 and say I was to get picked up by a big sprint car team, I already have that experience under my belt driving for somebody else.
So let's say you're racing your own car. How do you treat your own car compared to somebody else's car? Is it different? Is it how would you treat that, I guess?
There can be differences. I feel like a lot of it kind of depends on the owner's decisions. Like me and the owner of the team were very open about everything. There were certain things like if the car was having issues on the track, hey, if it's overheating, what do you want me to do? We were very open about if there was issues or what he wanted me to be able to accomplish with my driving and what he wanted out of it, social media. I think the best thing you can do when you're put onto a team is just try and be as open and don't be afraid to ask questions because it's better to ask questions than to know than not know. I think that was probably the biggest thing that helped us. And then, like I said, just, making sure that if they set rules on, hey, if it's overheating, don't do this, or hey, if it's making this noise in the motor, because you've been having issues lately, or, hey, let's just be cautious and try not to crash. Just do the best you can to listen to those. Obviously, crashes are going to happen sometimes and you can't avoid them, but try not to put yourself in those positions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had this talk with a couple of teenage girls, and their attitude is a big thing. You know, if you're, I see a lot of kids in general, not just girls, get out of their cart or race car, super mad, storm off. Nobody talk, won't talk to nobody. And if what would your team owner do if you did that?
It would definitely be an issue. I was taught from a very young age to not act that way. No matter how the race went, the race is maybe 10 minutes of your day, max 30, depending on what you're racing. So you can't let that 10 minutes, get you down for the rest of the day. And I've started to look at it too, is you don't know who's watching you. There's always eyes on you. And you have to kind of be able to present yourself professional no matter where you are. You could be at your local track that you go to every week, but you still need to come off as professional because you have no idea who's watching. And especially when you're driving under a team too, I feel like that expectation is even higher because you're representing them. You're not just representing yourself.
For sure. Linda, you got anything for her right now?
I do. So one of the things I want to talk to you about is how you've branded yourself and the things that you're doing through. I know you have a podcast and social media. So just tell us all about that. How'd you get started with the podcast, and how do you use social media to your advantage?
Yeah, so I focus a lot on social media and my podcast, like what you mentioned. So
Sorry, my dogs are going crazy.
Okay.
No worries. So with social media, I have Instagram and Facebook. I am currently working on getting a Twitter up and running and a LinkedIn up and running. But I spend a lot of time like posting my day-to-day life stuff on there, keeping my fans up to date, always posting race reports, whether it's good or bad. Sometimes you don't want to put those bad race reports up, but you have to let your fans know how you're doing. You have to keep them updated. They want to hear the good and the bad, just like you were mentioning earlier. Everybody has bad stuff in their life, and everybody wants to hear not only the good but the bad. But I think when I hit about 13, 14 is when I really started to push my social media stuff, because I realized that especially for the younger ages, and especially females even, like, can really use that as a branding tool in racing. And it's another aspect you can give to sponsors, another aspect you can give to your fans. Like, they don't always have to come out to the races and watch you to find out how you did. You can post about it or contact them through social medias and they can know how you did. And then on the side of social media, I also have a podcast called Local Legends and Icons. It's been up and running for probably about 2-3 months now. I do it on the side with Shane Saunders, and it's a podcast on racers and also local business owners in Arizona. And we just want to tell their story. Like, we want to hear like what it takes to race, what it takes to own a business, like you were saying, your struggles, like the inside, not just the basics. Everybody knows the basics, like what it really takes to do what you do.
Yeah, I absolutely. And, especially you have to learn what to post and what not to post, because we don't know who's reading either or following you. And, you could have somebody following you from afar and you never even know. And it could be somebody that's watching to see if maybe they want to be one of your sponsors. And so it's almost terrible to say, but it also keeps us on our toes. We have to constantly be thinking, who is listening? Who is sitting over here at this booth listening to maybe what I'm saying? And then they're like, oh, you have a race business? What? You just never know the conversation. And so we always have to be on our toes and present the best version of ourselves that we can. And so, that's a hard thing, especially for a kid to do. It's hard for an adult to do.
Yeah.
But it's so important, to do that. And so I know another thing you do. I think you work for your dad. Do you do that? I mean, when do you have time to breathe, Jessie?
I don't, honestly. I think we maybe do one vacation a year if we're lucky. We take usually races are our vacations. But no, so I work part-time with my dad as well in his business. I work up in the office, kind of help with payroll, help with the taxes, the general stuff. He handles most of the customer side of things, just with him being the owner, it's easier. But then, I also try and be as involved as I can in prepping the cars and staying on top of all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's me going back into the driver's seat, So I try and keep myself busy, especially being a young age. And I also do online school. So that gives me a little bit more freedom, I guess you could say, to be able to really spend time working on my career and also have a side job. Yeah, I mean, but there also, again, comes downsides with online school because you're, doing it yourself, you're teaching yourself, you can stay on top of yourself. But the way I look at it is you can start your career now or you can start your career when you're 21.
Right.
So I think by the time I'm, 18, 21, I would rather be at that higher level.
Well, and you've got a head start on a lot of kids because you've learned at a much younger age than most kids what it takes to brand yourself, to promote yourself, and do all those things and that. Hey, I want to ask you one thing though. So this local legends and icons. I was wondering, Brett, do you think I might fit into that? Do you think I'm like old enough to be an icon or what? Who do you have on your show? Because I think from what I've seen, it's pretty young people that are on there. I think I might have aged out already.
There is no age limit, I promise. Recently, we have done 2 kids. That just happened to be the first 2 ones were dropped. We did Alexia Leeming, which is a female off-road racer out of Arizona. She just started her desert career, so we got her on, talked about the changes from short course racing to desert racing and, again, what it takes. And then our second guest was Dexter Warren. He's actually out of Australia. He's here for a year. He was here for a year. He's been here for about a year and a half because they're having issues getting back home right now. But he's racing a Razor 170 literally all across America. I think they have been to more states in a year than I have in the 16 years I've been living.
Yeah, and he's quite a character, isn't he?
Yes, he was hilarious to have on the podcast. It was probably one of the funniest podcasts I've ever done in my life. Like every question that I asked him seemed to come back as some sort of joke.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't found or listened to that podcast, you need to get on there and listen to Local Legends and Icons. So awesome.
It's on Instagram, and then the link in the bio is the YouTube page, and it'll take you straight to the YouTube page.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good.
I've got a daughter who'd probably love to be on that show.
Yes, we for sure have to get her scheduled.
Yeah. So 5 years from now, where are you going to be, Jessie? What are you going to be doing?
I'm hoping to be either in college or out of college. I want to have a business degree of some sort and a marketing degree of some sort. I'm hoping, the marketing will be able to, again, tie back into the social media stuff because that's my end goal is to be able to make social media one of my jobs. And then I want to be either driving for a midget team, a sprint car team, something along the lines of off-road. I'm kind of open. I'd even go the pavement route. I'm, wherever I could get a ride is where I could go. I'd be thankful and blessed for anything.
Yeah, being open to anything is the way to go in racing because you never know what's going to pop up.
Yeah, exactly. And I was very fortunate, for my parents to be able to well-round me as a driver. I was able to have an off-road background, a pavement background with the go-karts, and also have a background now with circle track racing. So when these big sponsors come on or when, these big teams come on, I have experience to be able to do anything. Like I'm able to go anywhere. And I think that's another big thing that if you are able to, especially younger drivers, like if you're able to drive anything, just drive it. You're not going to be good at it when you start. Like that's probably going to be the hardest thing is getting over the hump, when you start. But just being able to put that on your resume and having that background, it's going to take you so far in life.
For sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned that, you use a lot of social media platforms. So why don't you tell us what ones do you use and how do you use them differently? Because each one kind of has their own demographic.
Yeah, so I probably mainly use Instagram just because I feel like it's really race focused. I feel like there's everybody has Instagram nowadays. But I use it for my day-to-day life stuff, race reports, stuff that's going on, just, promote stuff about the show on there. Just, everything. I don't really think that there's something that you can't post. Obviously, along the guidelines of appropriate, but you post everything about your life. People want to see you. People want to see what you're doing. People want to hear about, if you're racing every weekend, post about it every weekend because those people want to know. And like you were saying earlier, you never know who is maybe watching from a sideline. Maybe there's a big company watching. You're like, dang, this girl races like every weekend. We need to get on board with her. Like, that's the kind of stuff I think that has made the biggest impact for me is just posting consistently. And you'll also see too, like your likes will go up, your followers will go up, and people like when you're putting effort in, almost your fans will put effort in with you. And then I also use Facebook as well, more so probably on the family side of it. I've gotten into Facebook, but I think I target most of my, time into Instagram. But again, basically the same stuff as Instagram, just day-to-day life, race reports, the general stuff. And then I also use YouTube for the local legends and icons podcast. All of the podcasts are posted on there. So yeah.
Yeah. So not Twitter. I didn't hear you say Twitter.
No, we're working on that currently, yes.
What about TikTok?
Okay. And then what about TikTok?
Yeah, so I think I probably use it a little bit, maybe like for fun. Like I'll, stay up to date with the trends. If I'm gonna be honest, I have not like blown up on TikTok yet. Like I've seen so many racers like blown up on posting videos. I'm like, when am I gonna blow up? But I think like as far as like the sponsor route and as far as like long-term route goes, I think Instagram and Facebook and Twitter are probably some of the best options. Like if you were going to put your time and effort into social media, I think Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter would be the three to choose.
Have you tried LinkedIn?
I'm also working on that. Yes. I know we talked about that previously. But no, I hope to get both Twitter and LinkedIn up and running here in the next month and be able to really put some time into both of those.
Yeah, I've really encouraged people to do LinkedIn. I know Brett said that he has too, because that's where a lot of the top people in the companies are going to live, is on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And so, Brett, I think you found that out as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we recently, we had some good experience with Phillips 66 fuel, which I'm going to give them a plug right now. We get way better fuel mileage, honestly, with Phillips 66 over any other brand for some reason. And it's been tried and true to us. So, but the reason I brought up Phillips 66 is on LinkedIn. I decided to reach out and share my story to the CEO of the company of switching fuels and trying it over our other brands here. And he seen the message, didn't message me back right away. And then a couple days later, I said, "Hey, I seen the message. I just wanted to reach out to you again and see what you thought." And he ended up messaging me back and giving us a gift card. He said he wanted to reach out to his marketing partner. That's why he waited to message me. So, the CEOs of companies are on LinkedIn. That's where you're going to find pretty much every CEO. And when you go to LinkedIn, when you're searching for somebody, look up like the marketing person, the head of marketing. That's going to be who your target is, not the CEOs. I mean, he was gracious. He follows her on racing now. I mean, and we've got other partners through them too. So LinkedIn is definitely a very important thing to have for your racing career.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've connected with some pretty amazing people through LinkedIn. So I think, Jessie, you're going to find that out as well. That's kind of one of the places to be.
You don't have to be a prime, you don't have to buy the membership or do the free stuff, because the membership's expensive, and I mean it's like $40 a month, and you really don't get nothing out of it. So
no, not at this point. And when you're on a lot of different platforms, as long as you have a presence there, that's the most important thing, because you are going to reach people that maybe wouldn't be on Instagram or TikTok as much.
Yeah, exactly.
And so for sure. So what else have we not talked about, Jessie? Tell me more about you, what you're doing, where you're going to be racing, whatever you want to share. More about your podcast. We just have so much to learn. You're such a busy gal.
Yes, I'm very busy. Well, I can tell you that we have raced literally every weekend except for 2 since the first weekend of January. Like full time in the micro, in the UTV, we try and knock out as many races as we can a year. Again, like I said earlier, the more exposure you can get and the more time in the driver's seat you can get is just going to help you. There's no such thing as too much practice. But like I think like how we talked earlier, like social media, especially for younger people coming in, you definitely need to put some time into that. And I'm always here too to help give tips and to help teach you, because I know it took me a really long time to learn how to promote yourself and what you should use and your proper wording and all that kind of stuff. There's so much that goes into it that I feel like it's almost like put on a back burner sometimes. And I feel like especially for younger people, like they should be learning themselves, because when you are 18 and 19, like then you can step in and it's just no big deal. You know how to do it, you know how to promote yourself. I think another big thing that has helped me and that can help a lot of people is going to shows, talking to people. Like you can't be afraid to reach out to people that want a partner like Brett did. You have to be able to put yourself out there, and it's what you do now is all going to benefit you down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had this conversation with somebody. Being on a podcast, going to a race that's getting maybe some extra attention that your local track normally doesn't get. All of those things are going to draw attention to you, and the more attention, again, it's who's watching you. And so, to me, that's so important. And the whole social media thing, I know we talk about it over and over and over, but it's just such a big deal. And there's so many racers out there that think that just putting their name, the business name on the side of their car is going to cut it. Or putting a post on social media, hey, I need sponsors. That's not going to cut it anymore.
No,
you have to get out there.
You have to so much.
Yeah, and people want to know who you are. I love that part of what you said. They want to know, do you play volleyball? Do you play softball? What do you do on the weekends when you're not racing? What's your favorite food? All those things. It sounds crazy, but that really is what people want to know. They want to know who you are personally. And so I think a lot of kids and adults too could learn from you, Jessie, how to do that, because you do it so well. That they've just got to get over their fear. When I call somebody and say, I want you to be in my podcast, they'll be like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. That's kind of scary. And I'll be like, it's just a conversation between you and me. Don't think about who might be listening later. It's just a conversation between the two of us. And the younger girls, have the one word answers. And then as they get older, they learn, a little bit. But again, I think some of these younger gals could learn a lot from listening to you, watching you, because you are very well spoken and you are very mature for 16 years old. And I think a lot of these younger gals, if they really want to go somewhere in racing, then they need to step it up. They need to really, either you're in or you're out. Are you in? Then you're in full time. I talk to girls who tell me, in high school, they really didn't have a lot of friends. Not that they weren't friendly, but they were always gone to the racetrack on the weekends. They weren't at the parties or the football games or the whatever it might be. And a lot of times that was the sacrifice they made because racing was so important to them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I literally do online school for racing and to be able to travel and to be able to make my career better. And like you were saying, I probably have like 1 to 2 close friends, and I don't even talk to them all the time because they're also so involved in racing that we're all just so busy. And like, I don't think I've been to a party in like a couple years. Like I dedicate my life to this, and you dedicate your life, to posting on social media and to working out and to bettering your driving skills. Like you literally dedicate your life, it doesn't matter how old you are. Like I'm in my teenage years, and a lot of people that I'll meet, outside of racing, like, well, you don't want like the high school experience. I'm like, no, because when I'm 22, like I want to be like known. Like I want to be a known name in racing. I want to be huge. I want to be literally living my dreams. I don't want to be in an office desk doing work all day. I want to be traveling and following my dreams and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Brett, you have anything else?
Oh, go ahead, Jessie.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say one more thing about the social media. So I think, too, that a big thing that people overthink on it is, like, yes, there's proper wording choice, but I think the biggest thing you can do is just, you want to come off as yourself, because it's very tough sometimes when, you're scrolling through Instagram or scrolling through Facebook, they're just reading words. So you don't want it to be so fake that when people meet you in person, it doesn't sound similar, or it doesn't come off as you, because then it might be assumed that somebody else is doing all that work for you. Like you want to be authentic and be yourself, and just don't overthink it too much. Like, it's just have fun with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but along with social media comes the haters. I mean, do you
Yes,
deal with
yes,
haters on social media?
yes. I'm pretty lucky, I'll say. Like, I don't actually get a lot of hate comments on my page, or for the most part, if they're there, I'll just delete them or try and move on from it. But I think, like, the biggest thing I've learned is, like, you're gonna get hate no matter who you are. And even if you're a female in this industry, you're gonna get hate. Like, you're gonna have to accept it. I mean, look at Haley Deegan. I've met Haley Deegan several times since I was a young girl, and I remember, watching her in the mod cart days, because that was a series we used to race. Like, she'd come out of the car pissed off and upset because these boys were roughing up on her, and you have to, like, just be able to move on from it, and you have to be able to not let it get to you, because if they're not going to support you in a positive way, then they're not really there to support you through it all. They're just there to try to knock you down, and why let them knock you down? It's just not worth it.
Well, I know we deal with jealousy a lot. Other girls that. So, how's jealousy in your life with other females?
Yeah, I think it's sad to say, honestly, but I think the jealousy and the hateness throughout females in racing can almost be worse. I feel like it depends on who you meet. Like, I have met some amazing ladies in racing, but then, you'll also get those ladies that you'll meet sometimes or girls that you'll meet sometimes that maybe just don't like you because you're doing more than them. But most of the time, it's because you're exceeding farther than they are, or you have more things going on, is why they're going to hate. Like, you're not going to get hate from somebody that's at your level or higher than your level. And, I think the biggest thing you can do for yourself either is, like, not hate on other people. Like, you need to be there to support everybody. Like, especially females in this industry. Like, I've learned throughout the years, like, us females gotta stick together, because sometimes those boys on the track and boys just in general racing don't like that we're in the sport. They think it's entitled to them, and they think that we shouldn't be in it. So I think that, the female groups that are really positive about all of it, like, we really can kind of put our heads together and push through it.
Yeah, for sure. So, what's your favorite thing about being involved in motorsports?
It's hard to pick one, honestly. My biggest thing is probably, like, the family aspect of all of it. Like, I never understood from a young age coming into racing, like, that, like, everybody that I met was almost like my best friend as soon as you met them. And, like, these friends that, you grow with and race with, like, they practically become family. Like, I have people and kids that I've been racing with since I was 9, and literally, like, they're like my brothers and sisters at this point, and it's crazy too, because, like, at the track, like, you can meet a complete stranger, and then an hour later your car can be broken, but they'll be over there helping you fix your car. They'll be over there giving you parts, making sure you're okay because you crashed. Like, it's just insane how, like, kind and overwhelming the racing community is. And that's probably been, like, my favorite thing about it, is being able to do a sport that has so much positivity in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a little story how I met Brett and Adriana was through Lori. I went to Iowa and to watch racing a couple times, and I happened to go to English Creek, which is where Adriana was racing, and I had interviewed her, and talked to him a few times on the phone. But then when you meet them in person, then it's like you have that bond. I went to watch her race, and so then now we're family. It's not
Exactly.
and so I find that now, even with women that I interview or women that I do stories on, when somebody shares their story, their struggles, what they've done to get where they are in racing, then you really feel like you have a connection with them and that they're part of the family, right,
Yeah.
Brett?
And that's 100% correct. Just like right now, we're interviewing you, and I already feel that you're part of our family. So, I mean, racing is a huge family event. Like, it don't matter who you are, if who you meet, you can have enemies that don't get along with you. That's going to come help you uh, if you have something that you're struggling with. So,
Yeah.
racing is a huge family support. The support system in racing is just unreal. It's if people don't realize how big it is until they're actually in it. So we just want to welcome you to the family, and
Exactly.
it's great having you
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah, for sure. You know, just like when we were traveling, I was thinking about before we left. Here's two people over the age of 60, and we always laugh and say, they'll let anybody drive a motorhome over the age of 60, a big thing going down the highway, but that's another story. So, but you think about, what if something happened when I was in New Mexico, or wherever I was traveling, and I've gotten to meet so many people across the country that I could go to Facebook and be like, hey, I'm stuck in, Timbuktu, Nevada, or wherever I'm at, and I need some help. And there's people out there that are going to help you. At the
Exactly.
racetrack, there's going to be people that are going to step up, and maybe they race you so hard on the track, and then they're the first ones to come over and be right there to help you when you need something. And to me, you don't get that with softball and football and baseball, because as a parent, once your kids are out of those sports, then you all go your own separate ways. But in racing, it seems like we tend to maintain those relationships, maybe even if our kids aren't racing anymore, and that those relationships seem to go a little bit deeper, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like, the people that you meet in racing, and they become family, and then I feel like you almost get closer with your own family, because especially if you're like, a really hard racer, like if you're racing all the time like we do, like literally, like I meet people my age that don't race, and they like barely talk to their parents. Like, yeah, their parents are there, like, they live under the roof, but like me and my parents literally are like best friends. Like, we spend all day together, we race all the time, we travel. Like, I never understood it from a younger age, and once I started to get older, like I realized, like, wow, this is really like changed my life.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for some younger girls that might be listening?
I would say, don't let the boys get you down. Don't let the haters get you down. You're there to follow your dreams. You're there to do your thing, and stay on top of your social media. Promote yourself. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And if you need tips, you need help, I'm totally here to help. I am down to help any young female, any racer get started with their social media, because I know when I was young, I needed the help. And I think, any opportunity that comes your way, don't be afraid of it. Do it. It might not go as planned. It might not go great, but you got to do it. You never know. It could be a once in a lifetime thing that goes with you for the next couple of years. So I think just don't be afraid.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So you mentioned your haters. Don't let your haters get you down. Well, I have a couple favorite quotes, and one of them I just seen recently was, "Your haters are always watching, so give them a show." And the second one is, "Haters are my motivators." So them are two quotes that I live by, and I instill in my daughter's head every day.
Those are great quotes too. We're going to have to put those in the show notes and post them. And Jessie, why don't you share how if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way? What's your Instagram? Do you have email? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so probably the best and most convenient way would be through Instagram DMs, or even Facebook DMs works too. So my Instagram account is JessOwens97. You can just DM me directly. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And then my Facebook username is Jessie Owens97. So,
Okay.
I mean, contact me whenever you feel like it. I am totally down to help anybody get their social media up and running, give you some tips, give you some pointers. So.
Awesome. You and I had a conversation, actually the three of us did before, and I loved one of the things that you had said, and I want to make sure we get that on this recording. And when something goes wrong, you said what you try to do is take a breath and stay calm and move on. Can you speak to that just a minute here?
Yeah, so I think we've talked about it previously, like you said, but I think, like, when you have a bad race, or when, you get those negative comments, like, the best thing you can do is learn from that experience, try and, compose what happened and just move on. Like, you can't have your mental state being negative all the time, especially being a driver, because you have to be able to get on that track and have the confidence that you can win all the time. No matter if your car isn't even a winning car, you have to have that confidence in yourself that you can win all the time. And just when you are frustrated after a race, like, if you're gonna cry, just leave your visor down. That's the biggest thing I've learned. But just try to compose yourself even until you get home. Go cry. I've learned, like, yeah, sometimes when you get home, you just want to cry, you want to let it out. But when you're in that presence at the track, or you're in that presence and maybe you're frustrated because you had a bad race, like just try and compose it. Think about what you learned, think about what you're not going to do in the future, and just move on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice for myself when the cabinet guy didn't order the cabinets and I was so wound up, and then I was like, okay, I can't do
Just gotta
anything
take a
about
breath.
it.
Yeah.
Take a breath. It's going to be fine. You know, it's an excuse not to do laundry, whatever it might be. But
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Brett, anything else we should talk to Jessie about?
I think we covered a lot of stuff. You're a pretty well-rounded individual, and we're
Thank
proud
you.
of what you're doing. Just keep it up, keep up the good work, and we're gonna help you along on your journey by spreading the word.
Yeah, thank you both for having me on here. I really appreciate it, and thank you to everybody that's watching.
Absolutely, and we're going to get this posted out there soon, Jessie, and so feel free to share it with anybody that you want to share, and we are going to keep our eye on you, and please stay in touch with us as well, because we'd like to know how you're doing, and again, like Brett said, we'd love to promote what you're doing and where you're going to be, so stay in touch with us for sure.
Yep. Always tag if you want. If you want to, always tag or do a hashtag of Women's Motorsport Network. So
yeah.
I mean, anytime you make a post or whatever, go ahead and do it.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely. Good. So thanks again, Jessie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Yep. See ya.